Hi, my name is Sonna Brado. I'm from Spokane, Washington. I'm a salon owner, a platform artist, and I do all the education and training inside of my salon. I'm here with Milady to share with you my perspective on precision hair design. I know that we're going to be giving her a strong fringe, and it's going to sit at the eyebrow area. So I know that's my starting point. The next thing I'm going to be looking at is, from a profile, how much of her facial structure from a profile do I actually want to show? So we're going to be going and exposing more and more and more of her facial structure. What I love about Christine's face shape is that her profile is more of a horizontal. The more horizontal the profile is, typically the shorter you can take a haircut on someone. I'm going to be beginning this cut by dividing the head with a radial parting from the forehead down to the nape. I'll be beginning my haircut in the nape area and working with my graduation. I'm going to be working with those diagonal back partings that we talked about that will be parallel to the shape that I decided I wanted to place on her facial structure. So I'm coming in, combing that hair out of the way. I'm going to be elevating the hair up to 45 degrees. My distribution is going to be T to the part, or perpendicular to the part. And what this is going to do is it's going to be giving me a degree of over-direction. When we over-direct the hair forward and cut it, it will fall back. So coming in, elevating to 45, placing my fingers parallel to that part, and cutting parallel to the part. Continuing to elevate to 45 degrees, and right at the nape area, I'm going to work to a decrease in length. I'm taking my next diagonal back section, and I'm just pivoting slightly because we're going to be working into a rounded shape in the back. My distribution remains T to the part. My elevation is 45, and I'm cutting parallel to that part. So you can see my guide very clearly through, and you'll begin to see weight build up inside of the shape. Take one more section. So when beginning the other side, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have balance. When we're looking at that shape, if our partings from one side to the other are different, let's say we had more of a vertical parting on the left-hand side and a more horizontal parting on the right-hand side, when we pull that hair and distribute that hair away from the part, it's going to do a different thing, isn't it? So I'm going in, remembering visually what I wanted my shape to be like. Just comb directly out from that part. Elevation is 45 degrees, and I'm cutting parallel to the part. So if your parting is precise, your shape will end up being precise. And I'm working to that slight decrease at the nape area. Coming in with my second parting. Pivoting slightly. Maintaining consistency. We're working the nape area first so that we can get just a nice spot for us to work our front diagonal back parting to. When you're working with a precision cut and a lot of graduation, you're looking for a really strong guide. And if you can't see that guide, and many young stylists have trouble finding the guide, I just tell them to stop and relax and readjust. I'm going to take our last section, pivoting off of that same point. So coming in, cross-checking, and I'm ready to move on to the front. I'm going to be beginning on the right-hand side and working with the same design line in my parting as what we chose for our original shape. Once again, I always find it easiest if you comb the hair back in the same direction as the parting that you're going to want to use. So I'm combing diagonal back and then working from the front hairline all the way into my previous guide. I'm going to utilize underneath the round of the head, that parietal ridge, I'm going to be doing 1 finger's depth elevation. My distribution remains T to the part. My elevation remains, well, actually it goes to 1 finger's depth. And then I'm going to be cutting the hair parallel to the part. I'm going to switch to the wide teeth of my comb in order to release a little bit of tension around the ear area so we don't get a jump in our line, and then just very lightly release my fingers and hold. The next section, diagonal back. And this section, once again, is about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, and it's going to be parallel to our previous sections, maintaining the same precision throughout our sectioning pattern as what we had in our design. So once you're working with cause and effect, I've moved from 1 finger's depth elevation into about 2. And you can see my guide very clearly along that design line. And at this point we begin crossing over the back. So we're actually crossing past the center. That way when we pull everything out to the side, it will fall back together. A key point that we're working with is as the head rounds around to the front, I'm not going to be over-directing the hair back into that particular line. I'm going to be following around into natural fall so we get a really nice strong fringe for Christine. So moving around, and if you want to work in natural fall, you have to move your body in front of the work that you're doing. Using minimal tension. Working in natural fall with about a 1 finger's depth elevation in the front, and then moving into 2 fingers depth around the sides, and then about a 45-degree elevation in the back. You can see I'm maintaining that distribution, so it's still over-directed slightly forward. I'm going to be working up to her center part. So combing the hair down. So I'm working off of the natural fall. The natural movement will come from the actual head shape. And one thing that I like to do is after I've got the hair all distributed into natural fall, I like to insert the comb about halfway down, right about at the round of the head. That way you're not disturbing the natural flow of the hair if they have a cowlick or a whirl that causes the hair to jump. And I've crossed over my center point, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. So working on the left-hand side, I'm going to be combing the hair diagonal back in the same manner that we want the line to be, and then working my diagonal back parting from the front hairline so that it connects with the previously cut hair behind the ear. I'll be utilizing the same distribution, so I'm coming out T to the part. I've got my 1 finger's depth elevation, and then I have the focal point from her nose to her ear. Check for balance. Taking my next diagonal back parting, parallel to my previous. Maintaining that 1 finger's depth underneath the parietal ridge to establish strength. Then as we cross over into the back, remember this was cut at 45 degrees, so we can't drop down to a 1 finger's depth or we'll be cutting a different line. So at that point, we're coming straight off of the head at a 45-degree elevation. I'm starting to work into that fringe area. So I like to stand just slightly off center, pick up my guide, and then work the opposite side. And it will fall right in line with my previously cut hair. One more section before I comb the hair into natural fall. I'm just repeating the same pattern. So I'm really working on just maintaining consistency right now. I've moved to the wide teeth of my comb around the curvatures of the head. Because remember, underneath the curvatures, the hair falls to natural fall and is heaviest, and above the curvatures, you're going to get a lot more movement in your shape. For my last section, once again, I'm working off of the high point of the head. That's where the comb would balance naturally, and then combing everything down from that point. The next step that we'll be doing before we do our cleanup and getting rid of these little hairs underneath will be horizontal partings up the back. We'll be working at natural fall, 45-degree elevation, and cutting the line is just rounding that corner out a small amount. As you can see, when we've taken diagonal back partings and our distribution is combed out T to the part, it falls back together and you'll create a small point in the center. So that's what these horizontal partings will do, is it will round out that corner nicely. Okay, so I'm pulling the hair out, elevate to 45 degrees. So it becomes just slightly softer. I'll work up until I run out of hair. Above the round of the head, we're going to switch once again to the wide teeth of the comb to allow for a little bit more movement and less tension. When blow drying a precision haircut, it's extremely important that you keep in mind the way that the hair was actually cut. We're going to be blow drying in that same manner. I've taken a diagonal back parting. I'm going to go in with my styling brush, and I'm going to be working the hair in a crisscross manner so that it releases the roots and the hair actually falls into shape. Another key point is that you work with the blow dryer with a nozzle on it. If you work just with the round end of the dryer, it's very hard to get a smooth, sleek surface. So now that the haircut has been blow dried, what we're going to do is go in and actually detail out all the little elements that don't quite belong. So just coming in and detailing out that little area. So moving into the back area, and as you can see, her growth pattern grows pretty much straight up. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to go against that growth pattern in order to take it nice and tight down at the bottom. My comb is going to be angled out at a 45-degree angle. If I go in any tighter than that, I'll end up cutting into the actual shape. So coming in nice and tight, working up and out, then turning the comb, coming down, and I'll catch the hairs because they're growing up. Okay, the last technique that I'm going to do will help soften the weight on the top area just a little bit. It's called a filtering technique. So I'm going to comb the hair down into the original 45-degree elevation. Then I'll begin moving the hair up, and as I pass the horizontal plane where the hair comes horizontally out from the head, I'll start removing just that little bit of hair that spills over the top. So I'm not cutting into my shape. All I'm doing is refining the weight line. So keeping my fingers in line with our original cut, elevating as I pass that horizontal plane, removing that hair. This tailored precision cut is a wonderful cut that you're going to be able to put into your toolkit and actually utilize on a daily basis, and you'll use it forever. Well, here's my finished cut on Christine. This is our tailored precision cut. We utilized diagonal back partings, creating a beautiful shape on her facial structure, working with our three key elements: suitability, adaptability, and cause and effect. This is a really practical cut. I think it's really going to add to your repertoire that you're doing inside the salon. Thank you so much for watching.